Hey everyone! In the last video, I talked about the importance of minimum essential data sets and how it's worth the time and effort it takes to create them. Now I thought I would do a short demonstration on what you can do with all of this data that you've collected for incidents as well as the data that you've collected for the minimum essential data set. Here I have a map of this portion of Southern California located around the Los Angeles area. And I've added the 2016 mission data so far for this year. To do that, I just went to Add and search for layers. And then from there, you can see all the data that is within the MRA organization. You could also search for it, but it's right here. And you can just click the Add button. And so now I have decided I want to learn a little bit more about the data as far as when aircraft are used for incidents. To do that, I'm going to go up here to this analysis button. Then I click Find Locations and click Find Existing Locations. I need to choose the layer that contains the features that I want to learn more about, which is this MRA Missions 2016. Then I click this Add Expression button. This is basically going to build a query or build a question about the data. What do I want to know? So within the mission data layer, I want to find where aircraft is yes, which means that the aircraft was used in that incident. You just click add and then the layer will run and it'll add the expression here. And once you do that, you decide where you want to put the resulting data and where you want to save it, and then you run the analysis. Once that's done, it will add directly to your map, and I've already done it here. So these blue dots here are incidents where aircraft was used in an operation. Okay, so now I want to take the analysis a step further and add a layer of data from the National Minimum Essential Dataset that I talked about in the last video. To do that, I go up here to Add and search for layers. As I said before, I labeled every layer in the National Minimum Essential Dataset as BD for base data. So by typing that in, then I can see all of the layers from the National Minimum Essential Dataset. For this analysis, I want to add this layer of airfields. So to do that, I just click Add and then click Done Adding Layers. Now, as you can see, the default symbology for this layer is just orange points, which make it really hard to distinguish between the orange mission data points. The NAPSG Foundation has created an entire symbology library to promote standard operating procedures for public safety and search and rescue and whatnot. So by going to NAPSG Foundation and then clicking on resources, you can find their symbol library here. Under the infrastructure category, they have this symbol that represents airfields. So to use this symbol back on ArcGIS Online, all you have to do is right click and choose Copy Image Location. Then head back to ArcGIS Online, and for our layer, click here, Change Style, and then click Options, click on Symbols, and then under this Shape tab, click Use an Image. This will allow you to enter in the URL of any icon that you want. Click Enter once the URL has been pasted, and then you'll see it up here. I decided I want to make it a little bigger so we can see it better. Then just click OK, and it'll show up here on the map. Click OK, and make sure you click Done so that the changes will save. I have already added this layer here. I went ahead and renamed this so that it was a little easier to understand, especially with the rest of these layers that end up being in this map. So to rename a layer, you just go to the More options and then click Rename, and then you can rename it to whatever you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this layer for now since I already have it set up here. Just turn it on, and then we can see it. Now that I've added this layer of data from the National Minimum Essential Dataset, I want to run another analysis. I would like to know what the nearest airfields are to all of these mission points where an aircraft was used during the operation. To do that, I head back to this Analysis tab, And this time I'm going to use a tool from the Use Proximity category called Find Nearest. If at any time you're using these tools and you need some help, just click on this little blue eye button and it'll tell you a lot about the tool. And then you can also click here and it'll take you to some more documentation about the tool itself. So for this tool, I want to know where the nearest airfields are from the operations where an aircraft was used. So for this first question, I choose the aircraft used layer, and then I want to find the nearest locations in the airfields. It's going to measure line distance, but you can, for other analysis, you can choose walking time or driving time depending on the analysis that you need. You can have a number of other options, such as if you want the 2 nearest locations, the 10 nearest locations. I'm just going to limit it to 1 nearest location, and I'm going to limit the search range to 100 miles because none of these are more than 100 miles away. This is going to be the name of the layer that's added to the map and where you want to save it. I'm also going to choose this Use Current Map Extent because this mission data layer is a national layer as well as the aircraft layer, and I only want to know what's going on in this current map extent right here. So once that's done, I click the Run Analysis button, and once it's done, it'll add to the map. I've already gone ahead and done this before, so I'll just turn these layers on so you can see what they look like. So 2 layers are added. One is, I need to move this down so you can see it. One is a point layer that you can see here in pink. So these are identifying the nearest airfields that were used for all of these incidents. You can also then, it also then adds a layer that has the connecting lines so you can see the distance between them. So as you can see here, it looks like 3 airfields are the closest ones to all these different aircraft points. You can also I also did an analysis on what the nearest airfields were to all of the mission points in this map extent. This could be used if you're trying to determine if aircraft wants to be used in more operations. You could use this to find out where the nearest airfields are and if you can use them for operations. Once the analysis has been added to the map, you can go to the layer of the connecting lines and click Show Table. This will give you more information about the analysis that's been added to the map. So as I distinguished on the analysis page, I only wanted the the one nearest airfield to the mission point. So it has the near rank here. It's always going to be 1 for all these points because it's just the nearest one. And then this tells you the distance between the mission point and between the nearest field. So for this particular point, the nearest airfield is 10.49 miles away. And that can be a lot of useful information depending on the analysis that you're running. There's one other quick analysis that I wanted to show you that's fairly easy to do, and it helps you to learn more about the mission data itself. Right now, this mission data isn't doing very much visually. It's just a bunch of orange dots. If you want to know more about the incident itself, you can click on it and read more about the incident, or again, you can look at the attribute table and see all of the incident points at once. But I want to do something with the data where I can know more about the data visually just by looking at it. To do that, I'm going to head to this Analysis button again, and I'm going to choose this tool Enrich layer from the Data Enrichment tab. I'm going to choose the 2016 missions, and then I'm going to select a few variables to help, as it says, enrich the data. So depending on what kind of analysis you're doing, there's so many different categories that you can choose from. I am actually going to go over here and choose from the landscape category. What it's going to do is it's going to look at the incident and it's going to look at the area surrounding it to tell you more about the landscape where it occurred. I'm going to click land cover, and this is going to take data from the National Land Cover Dataset, which is NLCD. I want to know more about perennial ice, what percent is developed, and what percent is forest. I'm going to click apply. And then again here, this is going to be the name of the layer that's added to the map and where it's saved. And again, I'm choosing to use the current map extent. Once the analysis is run, it will be added to the map, something like this. I did change the symbology a little bit. I went to that change style, and then I chose the predominant category. So what that means is if you go up here to legend, you can see more. So the dots that are red means that of these three categories, the predominant land cover was developed. Again, for the green, the predominant was forest, and for the blue, predominant was perennial ice, snow, or barren land. Then you can see that some of them are lighter than the others. These are a really dark red, these are a more transparent green. That means that the level of predominance was higher in this than it was in this. So this point had different kinds of, it had a lower predominance than the darker ones. And you can see that here, that the transparency equals less than 34% predominance, and the really opaque is a greater than 92% predominance. You can also go back to your content and click on the attribute table, and it will tell you the percentage of predominance for those three land types. It'll be all the way at the end. So for this particular point, 9% was perennial ice, 17% was forest, and 60% was shrub, and 12% was developed. This analysis I had done for variables. So that is just another really quick analysis that you can use that gives you a better idea of the mission data just by looking at it visually instead of having to go and read through all of the incident data in order to know more about it. There's a lot of different other analysis that you can run just on ArcGIS Online. It just takes playing around with it, making sure you're reading the help and the extra documentation in order to understand what's going on. Thank you.